The other thing, you're saying what Durkin is saying, in many of these cases, there was a pre-existing injury, and that lawyer...
Pre-existing condition. So
pre-existing condition.
Every person 50 years or older...
that lawyer will come in,
every person 50 years or older has a pre-existing condition.
Every person?
Yes. So
Wait,
because
by law, or by, you're saying that's
anatomy.
An assertion?
No, by anatomy. So everybody has desiccation, everybody has degenerative changes, and what Representative Durkin wants to do...
biologically true.
It's biologically true. It's anatomically true.
Okay.
And what he wants to do is say anybody who's middle-aged or has any sort of pre-existing degenerative condition no longer gets workers' comp.
Well, I hope you like that clip from Matt Belcher of Alexi Belcher. Look, when you start off a show from Matt Belcher, he's a trial lawyer, and you start off with a clip, you know you've got punch. Mr. Belcher, trial lawyer, par excellence,
Mr.
workman's
Berkowitz.
comp lawyer, plaintiff's workman's comp trial lawyer.
Yes, sir.
Answer that question I didn't let you answer last time.
Sure.
And you keep it to 1 minute. How could we cut the cost of workman's comp so more employers could come to Illinois, could stay in Illinois, there'd be more jobs, we've been losing jobs to Indiana, Michigan, Iowa. Why don't you tell Governor Rauner how to cut workman's comp costs?
Senate Bill 2556. It establishes the Illinois Employers Mutual Insurance Company. In about 24 different states, workers' compensation is written partially by what's called a state fund. So the state sets up a mutual insurance company that's funded through premium dollars, and those premium dollars are used to pay claims. The beauty of the system is that it provides pure sunshine. So you know exactly where all the dollars go, which isn't something that we know now, and we're ensured that there isn't too much profit motive being taken out of the equation. So we ensure that there's fair prices for business, because everybody wants nobody likes that insurance companies charge businesses too much money for workers' compensation coverage. Trial lawyers, people who are injured workers' families, they're all concerned that insurance rates are too high. But insurance rates are too high because the insurance companies have kept all the money from all the previous times that we've tried to fix the system. So if we would...
They've kept all the money. Well, go ahead.
Sure. So it's right here.
I am not interrupting you, so don't interrupt
No problem.
me. Okay.
So Senate Bill 2556 establishes a state fund, the same as they have in many other states, that allows the state fund's mutual insurance company to write fair insurance premium programs that protect injured workers and small business. So we let this pass through the General Assembly, and Governor Rauner can sign it, and immediately businesses will start saving money starting next calendar year.
So what are the capital costs to set up that? Would that be what you might call the public option? Would that be kind of like Medicare, only on a state level?
A little bit,
Would that be kind of like the veterans, the VA? That's a really efficient. We have the VA, a separate entity to provide health care for our vets. And everybody knows that's been a resounding success, right?
Well, I know that there are small issues with it, but you don't...
Small issues?
Right.
Even Barack Obama, after 8 years in office as President of the United States, as the 43rd President, can't fix it. Even the most liberal president we've ever had can't fix the VA. Certainly Bush didn't fix it the 8 years. No, but seriously,
I don't think Obama isn't really that liberal. But
I'm just being fair here, fair and balanced. You know, we have this major problem. We're losing jobs. We're losing employers. People are going to Indiana. They're going to Michigan.
And those companies that go to Indiana then go to Mexico, because as we see with
Not
the care,
all. Some do, but Indiana's doing quite well, thank you, for a small to middling state. And all I'm saying is, your great solution, I had to wait 2 weeks for this,
right.
Your great solution is bring on government. That I know you softened it, and you sort of made it.
Listen,
you put
this
sort
idea.
of lipstick on a pig when you said bring on government. But government is usually the problem, not the answer. Government is the problem, not the solution.
Well, I don't think that's
What gives you
true.
the thought to think that things will be better and more efficient if only we have another government entity running things?
Well, first of all, you're just buying into the mindset that if you demean government, that somehow that means that the private sector does a better job. And we know that there shouldn't be a profit motive in some things. There shouldn't be a profit motive in policing. There shouldn't be a profit.
There should.
There shouldn't be a profit
It's called
motive.
security. We have all sorts of private security agencies.
There shouldn't be a
They are
profit motive
essentially
in
a
the
police
fire
function.
department. There shouldn't be a private. There shouldn't be a profit motive in
Really?
ambulances.
Those
there
things
shouldn't
would
be.
be- those
There
things would
shouldn't be
all
a profit
efficient.
motive
If there was a
in workers'
profit-
compensation
If there
insurance.
were a profit motive in all of those things, if you could harness
Right,
the
then
energy of the
you
free
just
market.
go to Mexico. Just go to Mexico. Rich people have police in Mexico. Rich people have fire department in Mexico. Rich
The
people have
USA,
coverage.
Mexico, that's
Right.
an unfair comparison.
It's not an unfair
We
comparison
have a country
because
that's been around for about 230 years or so,
right, and Mexico's been around longer. So
and,
go ahead.
you know, right at the same time we had the Declaration of Independence.
So,
Adam
listen,
Smith
at
wrote
one
The Wealth
time-
of Nations. We created a
Adam
great
Smith wrote The
democracy.
Wealth of Nations.
We created a free enterprise.
Before
they
the-
both have done very, very well, thank you, have they not?
Adam Smith wrote a long time, even before the Irish potato famine. And the basic concept was that,
1776 was before the Irish famine.
right. So the basic concept was
Okay.
that a landlord's going to take care of the people who work on his land because the production of those tenants is important to him. But we know what happened.
No.
But we know what happened
Excuse me.
is
No.
that
if you want to state Adam Smith, you got to give it an honest shot. And if your best shot is that, I will do it. But do you want to give me your best shot of stating what is most famous about Adam Smith's Wealth of Nations? If you had to say two words, what would it be?
hand.
Invisible hand.
Right.
Tell our viewers, because it's always
It's
best.
a made up theory.
Excuse me,
That's
but
it's a made up theory
I've learned from
that's
my betters. I've learned
Right.
from my betters. Jeff, instead of you telling the viewers,
Right.
tease it out of
The invisible
your guest.
hand. The invisible hand is a made-up story that allows rich people to claw back as much money as possible, while
No, come on, give it your best shot.
it is
Stop playing
external.
around.
It's wait a minute. So
You
think
went
about
to a Jesuit law school.
Right,
I'm
I
sure they didn't teach you what you're just saying.
well,
now,
maybe
did
not,
they?
but
Okay.
actually, you know what?
Give it a shot at what they did.
Actually,
what was the name of that
Catholic
law school? Creighton?
Creighton, yeah.
Yeah, it's a very good law school, by the way.
Yeah, thank you. Catholic social justice is something that people forget to talk about sometimes. Regardless, so
Yeah, let's put Catholic social justice aside
Right.
for the moment. You really just talk about, give your best shot. I'm not saying you have to believe in it.
Right.
What would a free market person say Adam Smith's Wealth of Nations was premised on, in a nutshell?
that the invisible hand of the market takes care of everybody.
No,
But unfortunately,
no, it's just, okay, let me
Go ahead.
try it now and
Please.
see if you would agree. The whole idea of an invisible hand is private firms
right,
satisfying their own profit motives, their own greed,
right.
are led as if by an invisible hand to bring to
Bring the Easter
production,
Bunny.
bring to production and bring to the people the goods and services they most want. It's an invisible hand that does it. They're not trying to necessarily do
How's
good.
that invisible
but
hand?
they're doing.
Right.
Let me give
How's
you
the
the analogy.
invisible hand working on Sierra Leone?
Well, let me
How's
give-
the invisible hand working on Sierra
Matt.
Leone? Because that's where they make the chips for your iPhone, is in Sierra Leone. And
Matt, remind the viewers, where do you work, Matt?
where I work. Where do I work?
What's the name
in
of your law
Chicago. Alexi Belcher.
And what services do you provide, Matt?
Provide services to people that are injured either at work or through the negligence of another person.
Okay, workplace injuries.
right.
And there's a whole system set up, as we went through last time, so we won't, called workman's compensation,
Right.
to make this process more efficient than our
Right. The
negligence
Employers
system.
Limited Liability Act is what it really should be called.
And so right away,
but since we're talking about euphemisms,
let's start right at the
invisible
beginning.
hand.
This isn't going to be instructive,
Okay.
folks. Bear with me. We'll try to keep it short. I've got Matt, so to speak, under direct. I'm going to resurrect what I
All right.
knew about doing a direct
Go ahead.
examination. And so let's start. A person walks into your door. He's been injured or she's been injured. That's the beginning of the process, right?
Yes, sir.
And what do they tell you? They tell you that they've been hurt. They were working at their workplace. They fell off a scaffolding, say.
Common accident. from
20
office.
feet. They may have hurt their hip or something. And the first thing
Lumbar spine, cervical
first thing
spine.
is that happened like 5 minutes before they walked into your office. They happened to be fortunate that they were on North LaSalle. You guys, if you know where Kirkland and Ellis is, just go a little bit north of there. You know where Boston Consulting Group is. You go up and they find Alexi Belcher, right?
Yep, that's right, 7th floor. 350
Okay.
North LaSalle.
So you guys,
Come on by.
so they come in and they say, oh, I just hurt myself. I'm just wondering, what are my rights? What can I do? Can I even go to a doctor? What do you tell them?
If you've been injured in the course and scope of your employment, you're entitled to certain benefits. Among those is the choice of a physician. you're entitled to go to a doctor, and if that doctor then sends you to the next doctor, that you're entitled to get that medical treatment provided for you in advance. And
Right there, how do they
why
have to
it's
show
important.
a card? So
one thing that's
does
important.
the doctor or the hospital ask for a card so they know they're going to
One
get
thing that's
paid?
important is they have to pay and provide. The
Who has to
employer
pay and
ultimately has to pay and provide medical services for injuries related to workplace accidents. And why that's important means is that if you need to have a shoulder surgery and it hasn't already been performed, then the Workers' Compensation Commission can award an injured person that procedure, meaning that the insurance company or the employer, if they're self-insured, must then provide that
So get that's first order of business, get the employee taken care of, get them healed.
The most important reason why people come to my office is because they need an MRI that's not being authorized, they need an X-ray, they need a surgical procedure, they need an injection. That's usually why they first come into my office.
So you go and you do the necessary things to make sure they're going to get proper medical care, right?
Yes.
And then you're going to help them, if you decide to take the case, to get lost future earnings if they can't go back to their old job.
So
in a
the
certain
most pressing issue to most people after they get their surgery authorized is how are they going to pay their rent, how are they going to pay their mortgage, how are they going to keep their kids in parochial school, how are they going to make the payment on their truck. You know, these are the real life problems that people feel. And so what happens is workers' compensation provides a limited benefit that's a wage replacement. And so what workers' compensation, the reason why we call it...
Just say hypothetically, say I'm 25 years old and I hurt myself. How many years could potentially that so-called limited benefit go on for? Potentially.
You get 66% of your average weekly wage subject to certain
For how many
caps.
years could it be? If I hurt myself really badly and I may not be able to go back to work and I'm 25 years old, give it to them straight.
Sure.
How many potential years? What's the maximum number of years
I'll go through it right
I could get
now.
lost earnings for?
So while you're injured, you're entitled to recover up to about $1,400 per week. So you get 66% of your average weekly wage.
$1,400 per up.
Right,
That's
so
the maximum I can collect.
The maximum you can collect.
So
if you
10
make
would be $14,000.
$72,800.
$73,000 a year. Not a
That's
bad
the
deal
most.
for not working.
Well, if you
Not a bad deal for not working.
if you used to
agree.
make $5,000 a week, or you're make $6,000
That would be
a week.
$250,000. You got people who are working workman's comp type injuries are making $250,000 a year.
Executives have workplace accidents too.
Really? Do you have many of those who?
No,
out of
most of them are construction workers.
Right. Okay.
Right.
So let's keep it right. Okay.
Well, most of them are construction workers.
We're not making $250K a year. I don't think.
No, but they only get 66% of their average weekly wage, subject to certain maximums.
Right.
So if you used to make $20 an hour, now you only get $600 a week, even though you used to make more than that. Okay. So
if you used to make $20
so
an
let's say you
hour,
make 20
now you're going to make maybe possibly $14 an hour,
Right.
or thereabouts.
because you can't go back to your job.
And you have to find the next best alternative. And that 66% means they will supplement your current not so good job with additional money, right?
Correct.
I don't want to get too far down into the
that's
weeds.
fine.
But one point to note here, folks, one point I wanted you to hear from Matt directly, there are people out there who really need somebody to help them. And you know, when they're thinking of where to go, they might have heard from a friend that Alexi Belcher does well. There's another firm. They probably got, I don't know, at least several hundred firms, law firms in Cook County did do your kind of work, right?
So
Ballpark.
there's about 600 guys.
600
women.
firms, 600 attorneys doing this stuff? And maybe two or three at a
650,
firm or something.
650.
My point is,
some of the larger firms have.
So what do we
defense
call that?
firms.
As you try to get their business and the others try to get their business, what's the one magical word that Adam Smith hit on? One magical word that describes it.
Competition?
Yes. You are competing with all those lawyers in a free enterprise system to give the best possible service. It's as if you are being led by an invisible hand that's guiding you.
Yeah, unfortunately,
along with others to these people.
There's lots of regulations that set in place that's regulate the way that freehand works. And what happens is that
Fortunately or unfortunately?
well, it depends on your perspective.
I
So there's certain
you said, I
limits.
didn't know what you meant. I couldn't
Well, there's
hear.
certain limits.
Did you
So
say fortunately or unfortunately?
So one thing that the business community does is they go around and they try and change the rules to favor themselves as opposed to favoring others. But let me just tell you really fast. You said, so let's say a guy gets
Wait a
his
second.
hand
No, you
chopped
say
up
this
at
so
work.
fast and then you go on.
Sure.
What, say that again about the business community, what they did?
Yeah, it's called rent seeking, basic. That's
No,
the technical
just speak
illustration.
plainly English.
Sure.
What did you say they did?
They go, the
The business community.
business community hires lobbyists and policy people to go around and make to reduce their tax burdens, shift their responsibility so that they can increase their profits.
Wait, we were just talking about the simple thing of what you do in your business. How did we get to business trying to reduce their tax burden?
Because this is...
Can we just keep it on point?
Sure.
Because we want our viewers to understand we're going to get to reform.
Sure, let me tell you really fast about the Workers' Compensation
Okay.
Act. So Workers' Compensation Act provides a schedule of benefits, okay?
Right.
So you get 66% of your average weekly wage.
But again, don't get too far in the weeds.
No, I won't.
We don't
So-
have too much time. We've
and
already
then-
used 10 minutes.
Right,
Okay.
so when a person is injured and the injury fits onto the schedule, you get the schedule. So for example, your hand is worth 205 weeks of pay.
Okay.
60% of your wage is each week. So it sounds complicated, but it isn't. There's a schedule, and on the schedule...
Is that if you've lost complete use of your hand?
If you lost complete use of your hand, you get 200 weeks of permanent partial disability benefit.
That's about 4 years. No matter how young you are, all you get is 4 years?
Yep, the maximum you can get is $155,000 if you lose your hand at work. That's it.
Okay.
So this is why I'm telling you this. So if you
Do you
just
get the same thing whether you're 25 or 55?
Yes, correct.
Do you think that makes sense?
A lot of things about workers' comp don't make sense. And if you look at them,
So
if you
you
look at
would
one
change that-
individual
you would
thing,
change that if you
you
could.
look at each individual part of it, I can make the argument that it's unfair. But what we have to remember is you can't sue your employer if you're injured at work.
By the virtue of this law, you're allowed to
Right.
get certain things automatically. and you
Automatically.
give up- and
That's the important
certain
word.
things automatically.
Right, and the business lobby has been clawing back at what you automatically get because they need to increase their
Okay,
profit
But
margin.
right now, you can get those things automatically in exchange for giving up, was the rationale, certain rights to go for the big lawsuit in the
Your
sky.
certain rights, it's the Seventh Amendment right. Your Bill of Rights,
US
the Seventh
Constitution.
Amendment of the United States
You believe in the
Constitution.
U.S. Constitution. You're a strict constructionist when it comes to the Seventh Amendment.
You're entitled to a jury
thought
trial,
so,
and
yeah.
the Supreme Court tells
You are a
us that
strict
at least 6
constructionist on that
people,
Seventh Amendment,
it's at
right?
least 6 jurors.
You're almost a Borkian, you know?
There's at least six jurors to decide what your common law right of recovery is.
Okay.
So if I can't sue my employer and you can't sue your employer, we've lost that Seventh Amendment right provided to you by the Bill of Rights.
So we got to give you something to make up for that.
Right,
Who took it away and
The
when did
Workers'
they do it?
Compensation Act, by making the exclusive remedy the Workers' Compensation
And
Act.
when was that act passed
Even when the
approximately?
employer,
When was
over
that?
100 years ago. Even when the
So wait a
employer,
second, over 100 years ago, that
even
would
when the
be
employer is
like in
negligent,
1915,
intentionally,
in 1915,
grossly negligent.
the state legislature,
Yes.
the General
took
Assembly,
away the rights of injured workers
in
to sue their employers.
exchange for getting
Automatic.
medicals, automatic things. Okay.
And then the business community has clawed back at that word automatic to increase their profit margins. And I
He
can-
won by a 5% margin, 51% to 46%.
he won by 50.2% of the vote went for Governor Rauner. Maybe
Yeah.
51.
Well, that's more than I said.
So-
It's even stronger. I
So-
said 51, you say 52.
I think
I'll
it's
go,
no,
I'll go with your
50.2.
50.2.
50.2.
I thought
So
I,
less than 1% of a
we're not going to
plurality.
fight over that. We're not going to fight over that.
Right.
The main thing is he is the
The
governor.
main thing is that they also voted in Speaker Madigan. They also voted in
Now,
Senate
who-
President
the
Cullors.
when you said that last time, see, folks, you got to catch Matt. He's a great guy, and he's a very strong advocate,
Right.
maybe too strong. When he says they voted in by a larger margin, nobody voted across the state to make him speaker.
Right, they voted
They
for Senator
voted in a
Haynes,
small little
Senator
district
Forby.
in a small
Right.
district of 100,000 people. That district voted to make Mike Madigan a state representative
Speaker Madigan.
who became speaker. Before he was speaker 30 years ago, he became speaker for life, so to speak, okay? With 2 years off. You know,
Okay.
like, they call it a coffee break.
All they have
when
to
he had
do,
off in 94,
all they have to
95.
do is elect more Republicans, and then
No, but
then
just be clear to people.
Representative
the
Durkin
people
will
don't
get
vote
to
for
be
the
the speaker.
speaker. The people vote for the governor.
Yeah, it's called representative government.
Yes, the members of the State House, basically the Democrats, elect Mike Madigan. And there are how many Democrats in the State House? Do you know? A little civics lesson?
This is the same. This
No,
is
just
the
answer
same
the
system.
question. Do you know how many Democrats there are in the State House?
70.
71.
Okay,
Remember that. No.
71.
you're-
I'm not so. Okay, go ahead.
We expect a lot of our guests on this show. Our governor has a turnaround agenda. He has a variety of reforms, and one of the more important ones is workman's comp reforms. It's more important partly because of the impact it has, and partly because a lot of people who know this business better than I, and perhaps not as well as you, but better than me.
I don't know about that.
But a lot of people who know this say workman's comp reform is probably doable. It's probably doable.
We did it
Tort
already.
reform,
We did in 2010.
no, but even additional workman's comp reform, something
Why?
approximating what the governor wants.
But why?
Is, well, they say it's doable because a lot of people have come to believe that employee employers.
No, people keep saying that.
Well,
That's why they believe
they've
it.
come to believe this, whatever you can say for whatever
Right.
reason. A lot of the populace, a lot of the people who elect Ann Williams and Robin Gable and many other state reps or state senators, they've come to believe, these people, that we're losing jobs and employers to Indiana, to Michigan, to Iowa,
Yeah, it's not
because
true,
our
but go
workman's
ahead.
comp system
Well,
is
that's definitely not
is
true.
not as efficient, is not as fair, and is not as economical for employers. So when they look at their workman's comp costs per employee, and that's the relevant thing,
Right.
not
The
like your
insurance
medical
companies charge
costs,
them too much, right.
not your medical costs, so forth, but overall,
Right. The
what do you
insurance companies
pay?
charge
What
too
do you
much.
pay in workman's comp costs? And a lot of these people are self-insured, so they,
No,
in
no,
a sense,
not a lot.
a number
A
are.
handful.
So what do you pay in workman's comp, either to cover the sort of self-insurance or to somebody else, and you divide that by the number of employees and you get a workman's comp cost. I don't know the number, but hypothetically it might be, say, X amount of dollars in Illinois per employee and Y dollars per employee. So maybe it's $7.
Per $100
Yeah,
of
maybe
payroll.
it's $7 per $100
Right,
in one
so
place.
because-
It's 4 in the other. The point is, it's substantial, so employers, we've seen this, people have seen this on TV, they've seen it on Mike Flannery, they've seen Charles Thomas talking about this. These people are not right-wingers. They have people come on and the media become persuaded that what I'm saying is true.
Duped, I think is the better word.
And as a result of that, the governor wants to turn this state around. He needs employers to do it.
Wait.
Let me just finish
Oh,
and I'll,
please.
okay, you had a long time.
All right, go ahead.
He wants to turn this state around, and part of that is so he can attract more employers, keep the employers here, more people will be working. If more people are working and they're having higher incomes, they will be able to afford to pay higher taxes.
Why don't we just raise
If
the
they
minimum
can-
wage then?
That won't do it.
But that you want people to have more
You get
higher
your turn.
wages.
If you can raise more revenue into Illinois, your taxes, income taxes, state taxes, property taxes will all generate more revenue. Government, which you want to be larger, will then be larger. So that's the phrase we hear from the governor. We want to be compassionate, but we can't be compassionate unless we're competitive. So I'm saying, but now the critical part, now the important part, now is the reason why you watch public affairs, why we have an impact. Because the question is, what do you do to actually reform workman's comp, to make it more efficient, so maybe Democrats and Republicans can agree on that reform and to move the state forward. And I got to say, and this is a shout out to the Republicans I know, to come on the show and correct me if I'm wrong, because I've been told by Republicans, mostly who favor this reform, that, well, you know, Jeff, we have to change the causation standard. And one way we do that, Representative Durkin, the House Republican leader, nice guy for coming on this show, and on this show he said, you know, we need to make the standard something like 51%. He said, now it's 1%. If you walk into Matt's office and you tell him about an injury that was 1% attributable to the workplace, 99% attributable to something else, you can go forward, you can argue with Matt to an ALJ, a administrative law judge,
Right.
and if necessarily appeal that to the arbitrator. And you make that argument, look, it's more than 1%, that's enough, I should be able to collect, and then Matt outlined for you all the benefits that you can get. But Matt's been telling me off the air and now on the air, there's no such thing as a 1% standard, is that right?
No. So here's what they're
So
trying
you're
to do.
taking Republican House Leader Jim Durkin, you're saying, on the record here,
That's a business
got it
talking
wrong.
point. It's a business talking point that lacks any anchor in reality. So here's how it works: is that when they say they
In
want to
1
change,
minute or less.
when they say they want to change the causation standard, what they're saying is they want to roll back, claw back that automatic strict liability for any workplace accident that happens as a result
You mean,
of
tell the people in
of
simple,
person's
plain
occupational
English,
risks.
in one sentence.
Sure.
When the person goes to the ALJ, or you speaking on
Right.
his behalf,
So
or her behalf,
Representative
what do you
Durkin
tell
wants to
this
take away
person?
wants to take away people's right to have an aggravation of a pre-existing condition be compensable.
Well, let's
So
break it down, deconstruct it before.
Sure.
When you go into the ALJ, you say, my client has injured himself or herself on the job. He was working on the job such and such day, he fell, he hurt himself, she hurt herself. That's pretty much all you have to do to at least say there was an injury that's workplace related, right? because the predicate is, when you
that's
say strict
very
liability.
simplistic, right.
No, but when you say strict liability, you mean if there is a workplace injury,
Course and scope
they
of
don't have to
discipline.
show the employer was negligent.
Right.
They don't have to show the scaffolding was in bad shape. Just strict liability means, did this person hurt herself on the job? If so, the employer is strictly liable.
And the
Did I
course
get
and
that
scope,
right?
the course and scope of her
Right,
employment.
I got that right. So, and then you jump to the other thing. You're saying what Durkin is saying, in many of these cases, there was a pre-existing injury, and that lawyer...
Pre-existing condition. So
Pre-existing condition.
Every person 50 years
that lawyer
older,
will come in,
every
your
person
opposing
50 years,
lawyer...
every person 50 years or older has a pre-existing condition.
Every person?
Yes. So
Wait,
because
by
the-
law, or by, you're saying that's
by
an
anatomy.
assertion? of
No,
your
by
fact?
anatomy. So everybody has this desiccation, everybody has degenerative changes, and what Representative
Saying that's
Durkin
just
wants to do...
biologically true.
It's biologically true. It's anatomically true. And what he wants to do is say anybody who's middle-aged or has any sort of pre-existing degenerative condition no longer gets workers' comp. We want to take away that strict liability and let them go on welfare.
So articulate for Mr. Durkin
let
what
them
he
go on
should
Social
say.
Security disability.
Articulate for Representative for House Republican Durkin, so he can come on and refute it if he
Right.
wants. Or maybe even, okay.
Come over and agree with me.
Or maybe
that-
even Speaker
that
Madigan can
they
come
want
on here.
license to-
It'd
what
be
they
interesting to see if Speaker Madigan agrees with you. We won't know because we've invited Speaker Madigan. And Steve Brown, his guy, he's going to check on this right now and say, Mr. Speaker, you get over there and get
You
on to
invite the
Berkowitz's
governor.
show. Right?
You invite the governor to come over.
Same thing.
Yes.
If I'd love to have the governor and the speaker come on public affairs, their first meaningful public meeting
Right, you can,
where they
you can,
discuss this
right,
issue.
you can mediate it.
I could.
You're right, you
I'm
can
the
mediate it.
perfect guy to mediate.
You're right. You could sit in the middle and have one on each side.
My dream come true.
Exactly. So what?
I think the show is over, man. I got to go get the speaker and I got to go get the governor.
Okay, so
I don't have time to talk to you. Understand?
Take away people's coverage for pre-existing conditions. That's what they're trying to do.
That's
They-
That's what Durkin should say.
So right,
No more coverage for pre-existing. That's what he should say.
That's what he's trying to do. He's trying to say that if you have a pre-existing degenerative condition, that you're middle-aged, that you have degenerative joint disease or degenerative disc disease, you no longer get
You're
workers'
saying
comp.
anybody
You
over
have to
50,
go, right.
under your schematic, or under your interpretation of what House Republican leader is saying, under your interpretation, we'll have to have him on to say, and what Rauner apparently is saying, under your interpretation, any person over 50 years old will never be able to
That's
hurt
right.
him or
And you know
herself
what?
in the
Look,
workplace
because-
and collect anything.
Right, because